Remember the word to your servant on which you have caused me to wait. This is my comfort in my affliction, for your word has given me life. So in your struggles, David's saying, when I struggled in my affliction, this has brought me comfort. Why would it bring him comfort? Because not only did he know it worked, but he knew that it would ultimately work. It would ultimately bring him everything that he could ever desire. Even if it didn't bring it for him right that second, but ultimately it would bring him everything he desired. Because why? The word has given him life. There's a big difference between, I'm going to probably see if I have enough time, maybe I'll just wrap it up with this. But there's a big difference between life or living and existence and existing. Most people out there that you know that are absolutely miserable, it's because they don't have life. They're existing. And existence has no fulfillment. Existence is empty. Existence is suffering and pain. Existence is miserable, purposeless, pointless. This is why a lot of people struggle when they get to be in their elderly stage. Because at some point, if they didn't plan for it well, they don't have anything to do anymore. They don't have anything to focus on. They now shift into existence. You know, many a mother has said, I lived for my children, or I lived for my husband. I lived for, well, what happens when they're not there? Now you're existing. If you live for Yahweh, Torah, Messiah, etc., that'll always exist. So now you're living for something that will always be there. So he's telling you, look, your word has given me life. Because without the word, we're just existing, and then we die, and there's nothing. So we're just going through an existence. Then you may be tempted to enjoy the existence in whatever fleshly way you can to the most, because after all, this is it. I exist, and then I'm not going to exist. But the word tells you there's more. And now you have a purpose to your existence. We exist to transform into his image. So we now have a purpose. And so now with that purpose, you can live and live more fully and more abundantly, knowing there's a reason for your existence. Because existing without reason is miserable. Go into any old folks' home, one of those, like a home where they're pretty much on assisted living, where they really can't get around as much. You'll find that some of them are just as joyful and wonderful and everything, and other ones are just miserable. It all has to do with whether or not they're existing or living. I've seen people with disabilities and handicaps and other things, but as they get older and stuff, who were just miserable because they were just existing. And others that still had that spark of something, no matter what, they were in exactly the same physical condition, but the one had purpose and reasons and excitement about life. So are you going to live or exist? The word, he says, gives you life. Now think about it. What did Yeshua say? I am life. Right? I am the truth, the way, and the life. Yeshua is the word. He says, your word has given me life. The whole plan is right there in that one sentence. Everything he's been talking about here is about the truth, about the Torah, the instructions, and the word bringing life. What did Moses tell them? I lay before you life and death. Choose life. And what was the choice? To keep or not keep the covenant, which was to obey commands. To trustfully obey commands. It's a beautiful picture that's painted there.